You are absolutely going to be blown away by today's show. We have an ex-lawn care salesperson who is on pace to his first $300,000 year in real estate. And I'm real excited for today's guest because this person had a corporate job and was in sales and said, hey, you know what? I want to use these sales skills. I want to use some of these raw skills to actually go out and make some big money. And so I love people who are kind of in the position of selling because wholesaling is all about persuasion. It's all about taking someone who has a problem and moving them towards their best decision. And there is no better vehicle, in my opinion, than real estate. So before we interview today's guest, I just want to do a couple of shout outs from my favorite Facebook group, and that's the Wholesaling Inc. Facebook group, and a couple of members who just had some huge wins. And so I want to say congratulations to Parker. Parker got a $50,000 price reduction with a seller for a very, very big payday. So congratulations, Parker. I see Brooks closed a $30K wholesale deal and just got a contract on another deal that he's going to rehab for $52,000 profit potential on that one. And then I see Lindsay just sent her agreement to her attorney to review, and this week is adding 200 buyers. So we got some big wins in there with some money, and then we got some newbies out there taking their imperfect action. So love it, no matter where you are in your journey. I would love to hear from you in the Wholesaling Inc. Facebook group. So if you want to know where that is, just go to wholesalingincgroup.com and that'll take you directly to the group. When you get in there, why don't you at Todd Toback and say hi to me. Love to meet you. Love to hear your questions and just really build the community. So go to wholesalingincgroup.com. So Zach, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. Pleasure to be here.
So Zach, tell us a little bit about your background in about 30 to 60 seconds, a quick and dirty description of your background and how you got interested in real estate.
Yeah. So, I've been in sales my whole entire life. I've never had a traditional 9 to 5. I've always worked 6 to 7 days a week. And, basically your raise is effective when you are. So I knew to be successful in the long run, I would always have to own my own business or do something that was more of a higher ticket item. And so I was approached by a family member. We started wholesaling. Since then, we went our separate ways, but that's really what got me into real estate, because we knew how to work phones and, we knew the sales process. And really, it's just about being effective and creating solutions. It is a sales process, but really when you do it the correct way, it doesn't feel like a sell. It more feels like, you make a friend, you make a sell in the same sense.
Sure. So Zach, so just rewinding, at some point you're in the corporate world, right?
Yep.
Or selling. I know you've before the podcast, we hopped on and you were like, hey, I've worked for big companies or small companies. So it sounds like you really had like no, fancy college degree in selling or sales or, you're working probably for a small business like many people listening to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was no, I never really climbed the corporate ladder. It was always sales structure. I worked for bigger companies, but they were never the Fortune 500s. They were the smaller mom and pop that had grew to bigger. I never went to college, barely graduated. I was not your traditional, I had this, nothing wrong with traditional education. I think it's great. I just never subscribed to, you have to have a degree to make good income. And so, I just knew it was through determination and just ability in my own self and believing in yourself that really you can do anything you put your mind to. And that's where it started. I just learned a really good sales process. Everybody from Zig Ziglar to I've been in your program before as well. Some of your sales techniques are absolutely incredible. And so, really it's just taking education, but really just putting that education to work. And that I found that makes the biggest difference in everyone's life.
So, there's a tipping point, right? Where you're making an income doing something else. Right. You're like, yeah. Hey, there's more to this. So I know that you said that someone approached you. Can you tell me a little bit about what made you decide to make a jump, right? To go from, just reading the books to say, I'm going to go ahead and make this happen.
Yeah. So at the time, I was managing a lawn care company for two of my best friends. And we were a very, very small business. I came on, we had managed for another gentleman down in a bigger metropolitan south of us. We were all very successful. When they started their company, they had called me about once a month, once a week sometimes. Hey, why don't you come over here and run our sales department? Because they were the owners. They were trying to take that step back approach and work on their business, not in their business. And it was a great fit. They were great people to work for. And it was one of those things where I was paid very well. I was very thankful for my job and the position I had. But I knew at the end of the day, if I was going to achieve what I wanted for myself and my family and my kids, I was going to have to be my own boss. I was going to have to take that leap of faith and that step forward, and kind of make that big jump, because it is a risk. If anybody told you it's not, they're absolutely lying. I did it in incremental steps, so I wasn't just all in and just quit after the first sale or anything like that. But you really do. You have to make up your mind where, if this is where you're going to be, you got to create a game plan, and that's what I did, and just kept going forward.
Okay, so let's hear about that first deal, right? So you're working your first job. I mean, for me, I didn't just quit, right?
Yeah.
I did the same thing as you did. I was actually working my
Yeah.
9 to 5, and I always tell people I'm not really sure if it hurt me or helped me, right? That that job,
It can.
it was a little bit of a crutch, right? I see some people go out and
Yeah.
quit their job and just go out and crush it. But tell me
Yeah.
about that first deal, right? You're still making an income. How'd you find it? And take us through that from beginning to end.
So my first deal, if I can pull this up here, it was, yeah, a friend of mine actually had reached out to me because once again I was working with a partner, and we had kind of separated. And what ended up happening is he had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've got a property that are you still doing this?" And at the time I just wasn't actively working very hard because I had just started my new position. And my immediate response, I went straight into wholesaling mode. I was like, absolutely, I can definitely help you out. And that resulted, that was more of a referral based, which is not always going to be the easiest for your first deal. I would say my true second deal was a cold call. That's what I do a lot of.
Well, take us back to the first deal. Whoa, 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 whoa. So, and again, do not underestimate, the deal that's already there, right? I think a lot of people are like, oh,
Sure.
well, that one didn't count, right? It sounded like a little bit like you just tried to do that, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
So your deal, what, came from a friend and you wholesaled his deal?
Yeah, so he had approached me and said that they had a property in their family that needed gone. It was in pretty bad shape. I went out, took a look at it. We agreed on a price, and this thing, I mean, it needed a lot of work. We were able to get them what they needed, and then I had turned around and I wholesaled that property. I assigned my interest in the property
Right.
to one of my cash buyers. And that was a $10,000 deal. It was my first deal solely on my own.
That's awesome. Well, let me stop there for a second, Zach, because if you're listening to this, your first deal may be closer than you think. So there's a couple lessons that people can understand from this and actually take away from this. So I know that, Zach a little bit, I think he kind of skipped over it, right? Maybe because you've got a background in sales, and sometimes we feel like, okay, I got to generate the marketing, I got to find the lead, and then I got to close it. But I'm all for low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
And so right now there is someone in your network who has a deal. It could be a friend, it could be a realtor, it could be a real estate broker, could be a loan broker, could be a handyman. I don't know who it is, but they have a motivated seller that has a problem that you can solve, right? And in this case, it was somebody in your network, and you were able to take that deal with no marketing and make $10,000. I mean, that is massive. That's huge, right? Because that's pretty much all profit, first of all. And I can tell you that if you're looking to quit your job, man, 10,000 influx is huge. I mean, I love to do $50,000 deals, but that first 10K with no marketing costs, that's a giant win. Here is where my lesson though is that many people, when they think about getting involved in real estate, Zach, is that they don't tell anybody, right? They're like, well, I'm going to keep quiet. They're like the undercover real estate investor.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they don't want people to judge them or laugh at them or tell them it can't be done. And it's like this insecurity thing. But if you
Yep.
didn't do that, if you didn't open your mouth and have the fear of what if this doesn't work out, or what if people think this is my new shiny object, or whatever that is, you wouldn't have gotten that deal.
Yeah. No, absolutely not.
So that's huge. So first lesson from this, be loud, be proud, beat the drum, tell everybody what you do, okay? And deals will come your way. I don't think you can build an entire business. I mean, it depends how big your aspirations are, right? But you can pull in $200,000 to $300,000 a year from referral. I mean, if you want to go over $1 million, you're going to have to start generating some of your own marketing. But that is awesome. All right, Zach. So you got that win. That's exciting, right? You're 10,000. Like,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
you know, sometimes like I probably just got lucky that time, right? And
Well,
the weird insecurities pop in. So how'd you get your second deal?
yeah. So take this in consideration. I have at this point, when I always call it, I pushed the reset button when I started on my own. I had already did well over, I think it was right at $1 million in wholesaling in about 2.5 years with my previous partner. So I'm not new to this game, but once again, I'm pretty vulnerable because I'm back at a 9 to 5. I want to pursue that passion, but it does take some seed money. It does take this and that. So that really helped me get off the jump.
Oh, wait a minute. So
And,
rewind. So basically you were working with a partner, right?
yep, before.
And then basically it sounds like your partnership broke up. After that, you went to a 9 to 5 and then started on your own?
Exactly. So
Got it.
at this point, when I'm doing these deals, I'm working like you straddled both sides. I was working my 9 to 5.
Mhm.
I was in sales, so I had a lot of flexibility, which was great. I would come in at 8:30 in the morning after I dropped my kids off to school, and I would put my wholesaling hat on, investor hat on, and I would cold call, and I would work my own dialer for, let's say for a couple hours. I would take that hat off, and then I would go sell for someone else.
Right.
I would sell pest control and air duct cleaning, and you name it, whatever we were working on that day. And then once I got to a certain income with them, I took that hat back off and I started working for myself again. And it was honestly, it was really tough because my heart's in real estate. That's what I'm good at. That's what I really know what I want to do. I want to build a business and I want to show people eventually how to do it. It changed my life. I know it can change yours.
Right.
And so I did that for a solid, I'd say for a solid 6 to 8 months. And then January of this year, 2022, that's when I went full time for myself.
Got it.
So these deals, this roughly $70,000 I generated in 2021, that was all still working a full-time job.
Got it. Now, Zach, what market are you in?
I'm in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay. Well, that is just awesome. And by the way, just if you're listening to this, it sounds like Zach had a partner, and that company had done, you said, over close to $1 million a year.
We had did right at we had just did $1 million in, I think it was right at 2.5 or 3 years in that span from never doing any business at all.
Right. So, anyone listening to this, you may be thinking, oh, Zach, had like a partner or, a support person. I got to tell you, some people go out right out of the gate and start on their own, and that's fine. But some people, they go out and they work for somebody else, right? And that's okay, right? To learn. And then some people go into partnerships, but whatever you need to go ahead and make that happen, you need to take that jump, right? You absolutely needed to do that. And it's interesting because at some point, what I love here, Zach, is, you were working for yourself, and then there was a transition where you had to get a job for whatever reason, right? Whether that would be stability or, you're unsure or whatever that is, right? But what I love is that you didn't let that stop you, right? You're like, I'm going to bring in income so that I don't have to worry about building my business and have that anxiety. And I love that, right? Because you're not sitting there making excuses. Everyone's like, well, now's not the right time, right, for me to start my own business. Well, you just did both, which is just killer.
Yeah. There's never a right time, in my opinion. Same way with kids, somebody's like, when you're going to start, I always used to say, well, I'd wait for the right time. And it's like, I had these older guys who had kids, like, it's never the right time. Literally a business is just like having a child. There's never a right time to really start it. You just have to be mentally prepared for the things that will come up, because it's not all, sunshine and rainbows. There are some really tough days But at the end of the day, you're going to have your why. And to me, that's my family. That's really where I just, want them to have everything that, I grew up with a great household and everything else, but I want 10 times better for my kids.
Right.
And so, that's what pushes me to work every single day, or to just always be on that, that grind, I ultimately want to give them a lifestyle that I feel like they deserve.
Right. Well, that's awesome, Zach. Let me ask you. So right now, are you full time?
Yeah. I mean, I've been full time since January. And once again, even when I say I was working for someone, I mean, I was always a 100% commission salesperson. So there
Right.
was a little bit of stability there, but your paycheck is, it's what you make of it.
Right.
So I started in January full time, and I'm on deal number 28 or 29 right
Okay.
now of the year.
Got it. So Zach, looking back, okay, looking back to, you taking the job, right, after
Mhm.
you had to kind of start over. Do you regret taking the job and you're like, did that help me, or do you think it hurt you? Which one? Anyone listening to this?
I think it helped me. And the reason being is because I don't really deal with stress that well, to be honest with you. So I'm more of a stability kind of guy, even though, which is crazy, I've been in sales my whole life. So it's never been a guaranteed, hey, you get this salary and this and that. It's really never been that way. So when I came back, when you're in sales, you kind of work on a draw system where you get some money, but that ends up coming out in the wash with commissions. And so that just gave me a little bit of that stability. But I would say, if you can afford to, if you've got a good reserve built up, mind you, I was just in the middle of buying a house, so I really had to show some good W-2 income. There was a little bit more behind of what the reason why I did it, but there comes a time when I think that whatever fits you best, there's really no wrong answer. Because if it works for you, and even if you only did it for 3 months or 2 months or even a month, and you realize it's gonna do one or two things. It's either gonna give you the confidence to go forward and go on your own, or it's gonna solidify your decision to, great, we're gonna do this for a short period of time, but let's really truly have an exit strategy for when we want to completely transition to working for yourself and really start building that business. So either way, I don't think there's a right or wrong. I really just think of, what works best for you. But if you do choose to, kind of work that part-time or that side hustle mentality, I would encourage you have to have a game plan to get out of that, because that side hustle will become something full-time if you treat it like a business, not just here's something I can make 10 grand or, $30,000 extra a year. Imagine what you could do if you do that full-time and you give every bit, of your energy and dedication to it.
Let me throw out a word of like encouragement and warning there, because you said something that is imperative if you have a job, is that if you're coming home from a job and you're making income and you're like, okay, this is kind of a hobby, and you work it sometimes, like, a day of the week or 2 days a week, or you're dragging your feet, getting back
Mm-hmm.
to those leads, you might as well not even start. Right? You have
Absolutely.
to
Yep.
look at this like life or death. And so the only reason sometimes why I'm against people not quitting their job first, right, is that they don't have that crazy hunger
Yep, it's
sometimes,
true.
right? But if you can manufacture that and be like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm doing this every single day, right? Day in, day out, no matter what, then I say go for it. And that is phenomenal. So, Zach, to wrap up here, give me a couple of tips here for someone who's looking to get started or someone get to the next level to be successful. What would you say?
I would say, don't get stuck in the analysis paralysis. Um, you know, you can watch every YouTube and podcast and be in every Facebook group all day long. If you're not taking action, and it can be, Tom Kroll says it best, massive imperfect action. You have to just be moving forward. If you're being stagnant, you're literally just dying. So I would say just take precise action. Make sure it's really what it counts. Working on a website, working on a business card, that's not taking action. Calling every single person on your cell phone and saying, "Hey, I'm looking for deep discounted properties. They need to be absolutely ugly and this and that." That's the kind of stuff that will generate you guys your first deal. So I would say work that warm market if you're working on a smaller budget. But really what I would say is just, go as hard as you can, and create a good schedule, and be realistic. If you've never done a deal, it took me at the very start of my wholesaling career, it took me a good solid, I think it was like 2.5 to 3 months to get my first deal. And I was working 6 days a week. So, it's always hardest to get that first deal. But, number one, I would say be consistent. If you're going to put it on paper on purpose, you're really going to put a schedule together. I would highly recommend you, finding a mentor of some sort. If it's even through, YouTube or podcast education, find that one person, subscribe in a sense to what they're saying, and, take that to heart. Because, most people in our realm, they are for your good. They're trying to get you to that first deal. And, thirdly, I just would say, when in doubt, you just have to push forward, because you are going to have those times within the first week and sometimes the first day. You're going to think, why did I even start this? Why did I even try to attempt this? I can't do this. If you're thinking those things, you're on the right path, because if it was easy and it was just, most people make it out to be that it's the easiest thing in the world. It's not. But if it was easy, everybody would do it. And, I believe in you. I know Todd does too. This business changed my life. I know it changed yours, Todd. So I know that, keep that in the forefront, and just always keep remembering the reason why you're doing it. That'll get you, pushed to that finish mark.
So Zach, awesome interview today. How can people get a hold of you if they want to joint venture with you, if they want to do deals with you? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. I'm on Facebook. You can look me up, Zach Sanford. I can give you my phone number. This is my personal number. It's 937-313-1833. I've taken on very few, one-on-one coaching clients. It's something small that I'm working with right now. And I just really want to impact people's lives and show them how real estate completely changed mine. You can reach me on almost any social platform that I'm on there. I would absolutely love to talk to you. And it's, it's one of those things where I'm really looking forward to giving back to the real estate community.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Zach. Love having you on the show. If you want to download
Absolutely.
a copy of the script that we use to lock up over 1,400 deals, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script, and I will talk to you on the next episode.
I would just love to pick your brain. So, let me ask you this. So I'm roughly averaging a little over 10 to 11 grand per deal. Which I don't feel is bad in my market. My market's not nearly as high ticket as, where you guys are at. I also take a lot of small deals through the year. I don't care to take a $3,000 deal. My highest was 44K this year. So that was a really good one. If you were me, I'm cold calling, I'm texting, I'm getting all my systems, together. So that's something that, I'm really excited about. I've started ranking. I'm on page 1 of Google for Sell My House Fast Dayton. I'm really starting to get some leads there. So I'm really trying to build the business out where it's not just always me generating. If you were me, what do you think the next avenue that you would end up going to as far as marketing wise?
Well, first, what's the average price point of where you're doing business?
Meaning, you mean as far as the price point of the house?
Correct. If it's all fixed up.
If it's all fixed up, 150 to 175. I mean, there's a lot of houses I'll sell for, ARV is going to be in that. Let's just give you a real range. 135 to 175 is kind of that sweet spot for me.
Okay. And where do you sell, and where do you typically sell those houses at to investors for?
So it just kind of depends. I guess it always depends on the deal and where it's at, because we're kind of really finicky. There's certain buyers only have buy and hold, and certain buyers have.
Sure, but what's like the price point? But like, let's just say a house that has like if all fixed up, it's going to sell for 175, right, or 150, right? And let's say it needs a good amount of work. What are you typically going to sell that house for?
85 grand.
Okay. So here's what I tell people, because a lot of people say, oh, Todd, you're in a high ticket market. Well, first of all, I've done business in Oklahoma City. I've done business in Tulsa. I've done business in Florida and California. And I've done business in some of the, armpits of California. So the first thing that I hear from people who are doing 10K deals is, well, I'm in a lower end market. And so my first recommendation to you, Zach, is do bigger deals, right?
Okay.
Do bigger deals. So that house that you typically sell for 85, with the 10K spread, your average is 75. Well, for me, I'm going to say, hey, why don't you lock up that house for 30? And many people are like, oh, the seller would never go for that. That's only going to work in a higher end market. And it's so funny because sometimes I'll talk to people in the higher end market. They're like, oh, well, when you're dealing with a higher end market, that's like a $300,000 spread that you have to get, right? And they think the spread has to be bigger. And so the one thing I always tell people is if you want to start to systemize your business and have better marketing and better results from your marketing, it all starts with bigger deals. Here's why. Because if it costs you $2,500 to get a deal and you only make 10K, you just spent 25% of your revenue on that deal, right? Versus now, if you spent 2,500 and now you made 30, well, that's less than 10%. So now you've got another, $4,000 or $5,000 that you could put in to the right marketing. I've noticed a pattern that people who typically do $10,000 deals typically do $10,000 deals. And that it's a number where they meet with the seller face to face, Zach, right? And they are negotiating for that $10,000 versus that 30 or 40 or
I don't
50.
disagree with you at all. It's already it's preconceived into my brain at some point. Don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously, I'm not afraid to. Now I will say this. I mean, I'm looking at my sheet right here. It goes from 5 to 69 to 53 to 11 to 8 to 24 to 3 to 5 to 12 to 4 to 3. Part of me is, not afraid to take the small deals because the way I look at it is if I can generate $2,500 or $3,000 for myself, it pays for part of my marketing. It pays for, you know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. And then if I can grab another one, I know that's small mentality thinking though. I should really be looking at, hey, what can I max this property out for? So really it is my own ceiling in a sense, that I should be really, probably maybe walking away from some of those.
Yeah. Whenever I coach, I say, hey, I had one coach say this to me is like, hey, you want to take the good and shield the bad, right? So if I give you good advice, take it, right? And if you don't like it, right, you could throw it away. But I can tell you this is that one thing that entrepreneurs tend to forget is the time value of money, right? And so if you are meeting with a seller or doing the deal and you're at least preparing that contract or delegating to prep that contract, and I find that the smallest deals take the most of my time.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And so let's say you've got 5 deals and they're at 4K a piece or 5K a piece. I mean, they're killers. They're emotional drain killers. And so your power as an entrepreneur is to take things from a lower level of utilization to a higher level of utilization, right? And we do that by seeing opportunities, and you see opportunities by having less brain clutter, right? So my advice would be to ditch the small deals, number one, right? And your life will change. Number two, on the deals that you think that you're going to ditch, this is the crazy thing, right? Watch this, is that let's say that you think that you're going to get rid of 6 deals, right? And they're at an average of 5K a piece. That's 30 grand. You're like, oh, but I'm walking away from 30 grand. No. Because as you try to throw away those $6,000, the walkaway power here, Zach, right, is that 1 or 2 of those deals, right, will now say, okay, I'll take a lower price because you were willing to walk away, right? Yeah. So now you make 40 on 2 deals instead of 30 on, 5 or 6. And I noticed just inside the company that my team just gets trashed when we're dealing with smaller deals. So that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is let's dig into the marketing. I'd see what my number 1 marketing channel is, right? I would check that out. So I would see what my number 1 marketing channel is, and I would make sure that's optimized, right? So if I was doing direct mail, I would make sure that I had a schedule going out every single week, Zach, right? Or if I was doing texting, making sure that that was fully automated, optimized, and out of my hands. And I wouldn't touch anything else until that was done, right? So for example, give me an example of your best, what you believe to be your first and best marketing channel.
So I do a lot of Facebook group posting,
Hmm.
like your local buy sell trade groups. And I post on there 3 times a week.
Hmm.
And you'd be surprised. My biggest deal was that $44,000 deal this year, came from that.
Right. So I'm going to tell you that absolutely works. Right. And I do that.
Yeah.
So my best guess, though, and I could be wrong, by the way, is that you kind of do it at random.
So it's funny because I look at that as like, oh, it's not really, uh, consistent. Okay. And I've not been as consistent as of late, but I'm in close to almost 100 grand through Facebook marketing this year.
Right. So let me stop
Um,
you. So I know sometimes we don't think it's real marketing, right? Sometimes we think of it as luck, right? But ironically, that 100,000 is probably some of the most profitable activity you've done all year, right?
Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
you've mentioned, okay, well, I haven't done as much as of late.
Yeah.
Right? So if I were in your position, ready for this, and I know this is crazy, but I would say, you know what? I have this thing over here that put 100K pretty much net in my pocket. How do I make sure that I never miss a day? So what I would do is I would take, and this is all it takes. It probably takes you 3 hours to write a year's worth of Facebook posts. Is that am I pretty close on that?
Well, so no, so it's not the Facebook posting like you think. So I have to go into manually every single group, a buy sell trade, Dayton, Ohio, and there's everything from cars to tennis shoes to fake AirPods to whatever. This is basically a virtual garage sale
Sure.
of Facebook. And I have to manually post on each one. And, I have to put my picture or whatever I'm doing in my copy. And then, I have to post it. Some groups will deny you because you're not actually selling anything. Some groups don't care because they consider it advertising.
Yeah. But whatever that is, whatever that system is, Zach, right?
Yeah.
Somebody else can do.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
going to give.
that's actually was on my punch list this week was to
Yeah.
get someone to systemize it where I'm doing it 3 times a week. I'm probably going to have my assistant Lorena do it, and where she can just go in and post on all my groups under my Facebook. And then, I'll just filter anybody who messages me and do it that way.
Right.
And that was my goal. So now that's out of my hair. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So the first thing is like people are sometimes not doing their best marketing. So that is awesome. The second thing though that I would do in this market is I would pick the one marketing channel besides that would work, right? So for me, I happen to love a website that we've done before called novationleads.com, novationleads.com.
Mm-hmm.
So you could check out there, but basically they're online leads that we could purchase. We're partnered with a company called Need to Sell My House Fast, right? But if you go there, right, they will actually send you warm, hot, smoking leads, and it's some of the best leads that we've done last year and this year. So I would check that out, but I wouldn't do that until I nailed and automated that first part. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. So let me ask you this: in the Novation leads, which I know I can do that. That's not a problem. Even if I had to do it, it takes me. Let's say it took me an hour and a half a day of my time. It's still a great prospecting. It's worth it. It's income generating. It's worth my time if I have to do it. Novationleads.com, is it like a subscription? Do you pay per lead? Is it only for novations? Because I don't know what a novation is. I don't know how to do that. I've heard of it.
Yeah, no. So in terms of novation, there basically you'll get motivated seller leads coming from there, period. So it's people
Gotcha.
searching online, they do their own marketing, and you actually bid on the leads, right? So for us, we bid, between $100 and $200 per lead, right? Online, and it depends on your market, but I would assume a market like yours is going to be lower competition, right? But you're probably going to do about $100 to $125 dollars a lead. It could be up to 200, but if you're not comfortable, then don't bid that. Don't bid, that high, right? But
Sure.
you have to decide. But for me, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm making 25 grand, I can pay. Remember what I was doing the numbers, right? 10 to 15% of what I expect to make. So I can. If I'm going to close one at every 10, right? My team, I really push them to close one at every 6, one at every 7, but you should be able to close one out of 10. Look, you're paying $2,000 for a deal that you're making $25,000. I'll do that every single day of the week,
Yeah, that's just printing money.
That's just printing
Yep.
money. So the question is, how many times can you put in $1, right, and get 6 back? That's how I look at it,
Yeah,
right? And if I can put in
absolutely.
$1
Yep.
and get 6 back, how many times do you want to do that deal, right?
Yep.
Now, the problem is most people find a machine that does this and they're like, oh, I'm just going to go to it when I feel like it. Right? I'm
Yeah.
just going to go to the machine. No, first of all, keep going to that machine, take care of the machine, grease the parts, right? Make sure it's not sitting in the sun, take take care of it, right? And then find
Absolutely.
another machine, right? And do the same exact thing. And then as soon as you feel like you're not taking care of your money machines, right? Go back and tend to them. So I
Okay.
will keep you on those too, Zach.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. I mean, I'm always looking, for other opportunities. We do a lot of cold calling, we do a lot of texting. Texting starting to die off, even though it's still profitable. It's harder with the 10 DLC junk and all that good stuff. So you just got to do a lot more volume to find the next deal. But we're still working those avenues. I was in Britt Daniels' TTP program. I love cold calling. I'm very, very good at that. That's what I came from, as we cold called everything.
Yeah.
So I'm used to that, sitting on the phone and just, beating somebody up until they say yes. So, man, I can't tell you thank you enough for having me on, and thanks to your staff. And like I said, I'm just I'm looking forward to the journey, and hopefully that can keep going forward.